But then on top of that, regulation from the Regional Water Quality Control Board really forced us to reevaluate how we're using our nitrogen. And so getting the most efficient nitrogen usage out of what we are putting down. And so they are moving forward with regulation, whether we're ready or not.
This is an episode you do not want to miss. Let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Soil Talks podcast. Today, we have Dr. Christopher Hite and Josue Diaz from Betteravia Farms and BoniPak Produce. Man, I tell you what, guys, thanks a lot for being here. I just want to go over a brief history of Betteravia Farms, BoniPak Produce to bring this all together and to make or let our audience hear kind of who we're talking to today and what's going on. So BoniPak Produce, Betteravia Farms, it was founded in 1932 by Milo Farini and Dominic Adirance. Basically a family farming venture that started in the California Central Coast. And for 93 years ago, they began with sugar beets. And now they've moved into everything from leafy greens, celery, broccoli, berries, strawberries, and caneberries, and many other things. It's a really cool operation. They do everything from seed all the way to sell. They're able to be vertically integrated, including the harvest, and it's very, very, very interesting model. They farm 10,000 acres in the Santa Maria Valley out in California and another 5,000 acres or so out in Arizona in the wintertime. And it's just amazing the complexity it takes to manage that many acres, and not only manage that many acres, but be integrating microbials and soil health practices on that many acres. Like I said, since they do have a seed to sell type of a model, it's amazing to be able to see that they are able to take total control of the supply chains, and they're able to integrate more innovative farm practices on their soils in their operations, basically to allow them to be able to, build a lot of resiliency in their farm far into their future. They have shifted from a purely synthetic model, I would say, to a more of a biological first approach. They do have organic crops as well as conventional. So it's a great time that we're going to be able to talk to these guys regarding that conventional side and the organic side and how they're taking soil health practices into such, or bringing it to the forefront, I should say. Basically, it's not, this isn't going to be necessarily about how organic farms are doing this. This is about how the world's largest conventional operations, which also operate in the organic space, they're integrating microbials, microalgae, other types of soil health practices, basically to drive efficiency, to reduce inputs, and to secure the next 100 years of their farm. Right now, they're at 93 years into it, and I don't know exactly the time when they decided to start to shift, but we're looking at the next 100 years now. And we believe that this is the way this is going to go. And not only believe this is the way it's going to go, they're making these changes to make sure that that farm lasts another 100 plus years. First, we have Dr. Hite. He oversees the lab operations, specializes in the math of soil health, and he really focused on nitrogen mineralization. He basically allows that labbed back data, allows the farm to scale and trust biological systems all through the data. And next, we also have Josue Diaz on today. He manages, I would say, the agronomic execution in the field, the boots on the ground type of situation, and works in the lab both. They're partners, you could say, right? They work very close hand in hand together. And he really looks at the functional microbial species. He translates them into the plant vigor out in the field, the water efficiency, harvest quality, across thousands of acres. So the two of these gentlemen make a great team. And it's just exciting. The best part about it is that the in-house lab that they have. A lot of farms and a lot of large production farms don't have this in-house lab. This sets Betteravia Farms and BoniPak Produce Incorporated apart from many of the farms that we see today, because they can take actual data into their labs biologically, PK data, phys chem type of stuff, and be able to see really what's going on in the fields. So it's a lab that is state of the art. They're able to look at the DNA side of the soils. They look at the NPK side. They look at all of those things, which is a very, very big benefit to the farm. And so above that, we just wanted to, again, today, we wanted to welcome you gentlemen to the podcast, and we look forward to just kind of getting down and dirty in this Soil Talks podcast. Thanks a lot for being with us, guys.
for having us. Yep. Thank you for having us, Brandon. It's an honor to be on here and talking about soil health.
Absolutely.
Excited to get going.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we'll jump right into it. So I guess let's look at it from the very beginning. Let's bridge this gap, right? So for many years, I guess your farm was probably just more conventional. I mean, obviously you guys had organics come into the mix, but it was more of a conventional type of an operation. Is that correct?
Very much so. So in the 90s, we started farming a little bit of organic produce, but they farmed organic like it was a conventional field. It was or mostly nitrogen focused. And so really more recently, we've been trying to dial back the nitrogen and then utilize those other nutrients as well as the microbials to produce the most nutritious crop.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you guys weren't necessarily focused on that. It was just taking a conventional operation and saying, okay, we're going to take NPK, but that NPK, we're just going to use nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium that's organic and still kind of farm the same way, correct? Gotcha. So then later on, as time has went on, I guess we're looking at now these tools, these biologicals and microalgae and all of these different things. A lot of people view biologicals as organic only tools, which is absolutely not the case. They're absolutely probably more important or almost just as important or more important in a conventional field than it is in an organic field. So now that you do that and you really started focusing on integrating these biologicals and focusing on soil health, when did that come about in the farm's history?
I'd say within the last about 5 years, really, we've been kind of playing around with a lot of biologicals. In strawberries, we've always done the mycorrhizae and a lot of trichoderma species. But more recently, we've been branching out to more Pseudomonas and a couple of the other ones like you guys' Palestris.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so with that being said, now that you see in these highly intensive conventional programs, by integrating some of these microbes into those systems, some of the ones that you mentioned, like our Palestris and Pseudomonas and, Azobacters, different types of microbes, are you guys seeing now, those conventional systems actually start to ramp up in production while inputs are starting to decrease? Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've been playing with as we start integrating different microbes, products, seaweeds and things like that into the conventionals. We've been playing with the timing, how close to the fertilizer application we want to go into. Are we seeing abiotic stresses out on the farm? So really just kind of trying to get a hold on it, understanding that certain biologicals have their space, they have their niche per se, and so that's kind of what we're focusing in right now currently.
Gotcha.
And it has been very interesting and eye-opening to see how these products work in conventional systems as well as in organic systems. That was definitely one of the things that we're afraid of starting. Was just worried about the biology being fried by some of the synthetics we were putting in. So it's been a learning curve, and we've had to hold the rest of our team's hand and just walk them through it, making sure, letting them know, okay, we're fine. We're very used to just putting NPK out there, so it's just all right. Let's work on reducing the NPK a little bit. Let's put out some microbes. Let's test it, making sure that the nitrogen that you need, the nutrients that you need are there when you need them. And yeah, kind of slowly start proving it to them.
How far can we pull back without affecting yield?
Yes.
Absolutely, which is an important part, right? I mean, that's the thing is we don't want to necessarily affect yield, but you also want to be so efficient where you're kind of walking that tightrope of being able to be like, okay, you know what? We see that we can pull back this much without affecting yield, without affecting those things, but we're still getting the quality, the yield. We're still getting all of those different benefits. But the better thing is these inputs that we're putting in now, products, obviously, or different things that we're integrating into the system are also building soil health, right? So it's more of kind of an investment into the farm versus just we're going to buy NPK fertilizer on the conventional side, or I guess on the organic side, right? Yes, it's better for the soils, but we're going to buy it, we're going to use it, and then we're going to buy it again next year. So that resilience you guys are building in. That's great. Yeah. And I'll kind of get into it, like I guess it's been now a little bit over a year since we spoke for the very first time, Rocky Mountain Bioag and Betteravia Farms, regarding the integration of biology into what you guys were doing. We were working with you guys on some, I guess you could say, some projects, or a project of like some of the biology that we had that we were trying to integrate into the farms. You guys reached out to us, and then we were excited to talk with you guys about it, because this is kind of really, at the end of the day, the reality is this is what we're very, very passionate about, you could say. And so with that being said, it was exciting to be able to say, okay, well, you know what? This is what we've learned since 2008. Any way we can help you, we're more than happy to. And so with that kind of, I don't want to say it's a partnership. It's more so just a friendship at the end of the day. That's the reality of it, that, we're passionate about it. We wanted to say any of the expertise that we've gained over all of those years that we could share it with you. Would you say that some of the stuff that we worked on together potentially did help out? Obviously with the integration of it, when to put it in, those types of things throughout the process.
I'd say definitely dialing in the application timing has been key. We know when we put the product up front in the strawberries, it definitely established better. It was a little bit bigger than our control block. It definitely is key. And then how frequently those follow-up applications need to be to keep that biology there.
Yeah, which makes exact sense. Absolutely. You have to get those colonies established up front, and then not only established, right, but then keep those colonies pumping throughout the whole life cycle of that strawberry plant or berries or whatever you guys are, working on at the time. So I guess with that being said, why now? Why did you guys decide, say, 5 years ago to say, you know what, this is the way we were going. We have to change something, or we want to add something more? Why was it the now? Was it market pressure, soil fatigue, the need for long-term sustainability? Like, what was the aha moment that you guys were like, you know what, we're going to start playing with this. We're going to figure it out. And like, now that you're 5 years into it, kind of, if you could, just why?
Soil fatigue is definitely one that is prevalent. We have been farming a lot of these soils for almost 100 years. But then on top of that, regulation from the Regional Water Quality Control Board really forced us to reevaluate how we're using our nitrogen. And so getting the most efficient nitrogen usage out of what we are putting down. And so they are moving forward with regulation, whether we're ready or not. Now's the time to figure it out before there's consequences, or steeper consequences.
So we begin to lose our tools a little bit. I think also on the other side of it is the disease and disease pressures, things we're seeing here on the farm. We had problems with Fusarium. Fusarium is really tough to knock down. So we started really looking at it. Okay, we got to do things differently. And where can we start? And that's when we really started looking at the biology, biologicals and seaweeds, different things that we could input into the farm to help alleviate some of the stressors we were having. So just compilation of different challenges, different pressures. Eventually the biologist said, it's time to try something new.
Yeah, so that was the why. And a lot of times that's what we see as well. We see pressures from the outside, things happening at farms that or production, conventional guys, organic guys, where it's just not working anymore, where you're starting to see the pressure. Like you mentioned, it might be the nitrogen, right? Like they're like, hey guys, you guys are going to be stopping using all this nitrogen on your fields. So what do? You have to come out and obviously, soil microbes, the life of the soil, you're able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. Since World War II, we've always bought nitrogen, right? And that's the thing, is we've purchased it from obviously suppliers of nitrogen. The reality is the atmosphere is 76% nitrogen. So at the end of the day, if we can gather as much as that as we can from nitrogen fixing bacteria, we kind of have basically, little bankers in the soil just taking in that nitrogen from the atmosphere. It's the way it normally should be, right? Our bankers aren't writing the checks out. We're taking checks in, and that's the easiest way I can put it. And then not only that, but like you said, Josue, as well, the pressure, right? You started looking at like, why are we having all this Fusarium? Why are we having all of these things? And not to say that biology will fix that, but healthy soil naturally defends against those things. And it happens, everything kind of stays in balance per se. So as long as you have a good, healthy biological system, it kind of things just do stay in balance, which is a good part. And now we'll kind of also Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Certainly so. I think we have issues here um, in the area. We've had neighbors that have uh, Fusarium really bad on the conventional ground, and right across the street they'll have their organic farm, use the same equipment, and Fusarium is not knocking down the celery on that side of it. So that's where we start getting ideas that, okay, what's going on in that soil? We started working with the other people to kind of start looking into what was going on in our soils, and we saw we had a huge imbalance of the biology down there. And that's really started to try to think of how we're going to move the needle. For us, it would be nice to do compost, but we are a little bit limited because we do grow leafy greens. So the food safety side of it there, a bit of a restriction for us. So it's like, okay, we can't do compost. What else can we do? And some of these biological inputs are the way we are finding successes in getting that nutrient cycling going, and also just other benefits that we're seeing in the soil.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's kind of what it's all based on, right? Like that's what we want. We want to see that. And I know what you mean. Going back, so you guys are starting to see, we'll go back first to the nitrogen regulation. Then I want to go back to the composting, what you mentioned. So you guys are starting to see lobbyists or these rules changing, right? Nitrogen showing up in the watersheds. These things are happening. And so the state of California, I would take it's probably starting to put some regulation in the usage of synthetic inputs or conventional type of inputs, right? Nitrogen, probably phosphorus will be down the road, potassium, the NPKs of the.
Yeah, very much so. So, in 2027, right now, they're aiming to have a limit for nitrogen applied. So they take into account all of the irrigation water, the fertility that you put in, the residue that was there before, and then the nitrate in the soil, and then see how much you remove from that crop. And they give you a summation. And so by 2050, that summation should be less than 50 pounds applied for that entire cropping system. And so we really, right now, it's about 200 pounds of nitrogen to grow a rockwood crop between all of those things. And so you really have to figure out how you're going to get your soil to produce, how you're going to get an efficiency out of your irrigation water, how you're going to be able to use maybe some foliar products to supplement some of that nitrogen that's in there. But it's going to take people researching and figuring it out to be able to reach that 50-pound limit.
Sure. Do you think it's a goal that's attainable? You think you guys will be able to reach that goal? Or is it at this point? I mean, I know that's why you kind of probably also focused on nitrogen mineralization, like in the soil, right? Like it's something that you're probably pretty interested in. You think it might be something that is going to be achievable?
I think it's a lofty goal, but I can see where they're coming from. They're having hypoxia and blue baby syndrome and salinity there for probably 40 years ago or so, because nitrogen does bind on the hemoglobin molecule better than oxygen. And so it preferentially binds that nitrogen. So from an environmental perspective, the nitrates going into the groundwater, I can see where they're coming from and they want the best for everyone. But I can't swear 50 pounds is attainable. But I mean, if they're going forward with it, we're going to keep trying to figure it out.
I like it. I mean, what are you going to do? You know what the rules are, so you might as well go for it, right? And now going back to that compost, right, that you said, we grow leafy greens. We can't put that on. Unfortunately, it's kind of a tough thing, right? Like no manures, no compost, those types of things, because those are very beneficial to soil, soil health. It builds tilth of the soil. It builds organic matter into soil. There's a lot of benefit to it, including some nutrition as well, obviously. But there is salt that comes along with it as well. So like there's a balance there, right, that you have to look at. Is that something that you guys, if those laws were to change and you were able to apply it, something that you would look into? Is there anything that you guys know of that they may be changing laws like that it's like, yeah, you guys can start using manures now or compost, I guess, in order to grow some of these vegetables?
From a manure standpoint, we don't utilize, but we do use green waste compost from vegetable production. So every chance I get in the strawberries when we bed up, especially in the organics, I throw about 5 to 10 tons of compost in there. And so I know it won't be leafy greens for more than a year if it's in the strawberry production. And so that kind of is our way out of having to follow that restriction. So we do utilize it when we can. Manures, on the other hand, I can't swear that will be something we utilize just because of the food safety aspect of it.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, that's kind of what happened to some of the melon growers out here where we're at. A while back, they got pretty well taken out from it, with E. coli and some issues that they were putting it, in their fields. And there were some major issues that came out of it, unfortunately, and it put some very good melon growers on the tightrope per se, I mean, like in bad situations. I think maybe listeria, I mean, there were some bad issues that had come out of it. So that's definitely understandable now. And that's the exciting part now. Like, now that we have these tools, right? And that's kind of now like what's bridging the gap. It's like, okay, we need the nitrogen reduction. We can't necessarily use compost always. It's building soil health. Like when you use that green manure, the green waste compost, you're building organic matter in the soil, and especially in soils like you guys have a little bit sandier, right? I would guess out there. So it helps with nutrient.
Everything.
Yeah. So now that we have some of these, and that's the part that I'm kind of excited about that we can kind of get into now, is like talking about some of these very specific bacteria. And I don't want to get way deep down the rabbit hole, but at the end of the day, this is the stuff that really is exciting and something that we kind of build. Like we have the biological beyond organic methodology, looking at structure, structure, life, energy, and then track it, repeat it, right? To really see what we're doing to build soil health. And so I like to always start out with probably the heavy hitter that we look at. I mean, obviously you're building structure, which we talked about, right? That's where we're starting to build structure of soil, which is a very important part, right? We're putting the house up, right? Now we're going to bring in the life, which is the microbials and microalgae and all of these other inputs, right? Food sources, prebiotics, things like that for them. So I'll just jump straight into it. Our palustris, like that's the number one that I like to always look at. It's largely overlooked, but it's a very powerful microbe. It's being researched right now by our federal government. I believe it's the most versatile bacteria known to man at this point. There's a lot of very interesting things, and that kind of brings the energy, right? It's metabolically, it's very versatile. It can switch between modes of actions, right? It can be a photoautotrope, so it uses light for energy, or it can switch to a chemotroph, right? Like it can switch over and it can utilize organic compounds or inorganic compounds to gain energy. And it's the base of the soil food web, the bottom of the soil food web. So when we're looking at these systems and trying to rebuild and put microbes back, that's one of the ones that we like to focus on here at Rocky Mountain Bioag. Let's put that foundation in. Right? I mean, that's kind of the way we look at it, right? Build the structure. Now let's go ahead and let's get some of that foundation placed. What do you guys think?
And got to feed everybody else. So you got to start at the bottom of the food pyramid and then build up that bacteria and fungi level. Putting in something as versatile as the palustris to really get the energy going is key.
Absolutely. What about you, Josue? I mean, I know we've talked about it some. It gives that energy. It's kind of like a battery, right? Like that's kind of the way we like to explain it. It's like that car battery or that battery that gives energy to the rest of the soil food web to proliferate and to grow. So, that's why we like to focus on that. But there's a lot of other ones. It's not just bacteria, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's just bacteria or oh, it's just fungi. No, it takes the entire soil food web for it to really work. Go ahead.
That palustris, though, it's been doing it work really well. Things with some of the microbes, sometimes they could be very, for lack of a better term, picky. They would maybe work in one soil type and not the other. The palustris, I feel like it's been working in all the soils that we've been putting it on. Also, like we haven't really had too much issues with having problems with anaerobic conditions. So yeah, it's been really nice to play around with that palustris and see it in action with other microbes as well. We have used rotated with different consortiums of microbes and always using the palustris first. And as you said, just laying down the foundation, putting out the good stuff, and then continuing to put on some more good stuff.
And then allowing that soil food web to build naturally. That's perfect. And that's why I think that's why we like it so much, at least, is because it's so versatile, right? It can live with oxygen, it can live so aerobically, anaerobically. It can live with light, without light. It can live on organic compounds, chemical compounds. Like, it's a survivor. It wants to live. It's a vegetative bacteria. And that's why for us, it's such an important thing to lay those down at the base. And then let's move into, especially since you guys have been there 93 years, right? Farming this ground. You guys have a bank of soil. And when I said that about a banker, right, it's like the banker controlling things. And that's the thing, is a lot of these soils, once they get farmed out, once things start to happen and the microbial life in the soil food web breaks down, what ends up happening is you get buildups of phosphorus and potassium and all types of different nutrition that's in the soil, right? But your plants can't uptake it. And so we get into other types of bacterias. You're looking at like different type of Bacillus and Pseudomonas strains, right? Which will focus on basically breaking those nutrient bonds, allowing the phosphorus to be solubilized and uptaken, right? It allows the potassium to unlock and be uptaken. So that's the other side of it. And I know you said, you're like, yeah, we put down those R. palustris, but then we add other microbes on top. That's exactly right, right? And fungi too, I would assume.
We need diversity.
Yeah, that's the goal, is bringing that diversity.
Yeah. According to the problem or the situation at hand, I'd say like when we do our caneberries, when we mow them down, there's certain microbes that we can put out there and help break up that organic matter a little faster, bring that all back into the soil again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then that's kind of where we get into it, right? We have phosphorus, potassium, like we're looking at that. But then we also have this other group like azobacters and Bacillus subtilis and things like that also fix nitrogen, right? And our palustris will do all of these things. That's what's kind of crazy. But the reality is at the top of the food web, or I don't want to say the top, but you look at this other one and you're like, okay, I need to also find microbes that will utilize organic matter. Like you said, break down organic matter, take that into nitrogen, fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere, cycling nitrogen in the soils, making it plant available, those types of things. So that's like another kind of group of microbes that you want to focus on when you're building soil health. And when you said that, you said it perfect, Dr. Haidt, is at the end of the day, it's diversity. Period. It doesn't matter. You don't just want one microbe out there. You don't want two. You want as much diversity as possible, because you never know what that ecology of the soil is going to happen, right? You mentioned that you guys are going to be getting, I think, a couple inches of rain. Well, that's going to change the soil ecology. You know what I mean? Just that rain is going to change things. So you have to have an army and a well-equipped army in your soil. I think that's the easiest way to put it, right? Somebody that's, you have air defense, you have ground or land, you have the Navy out, you have them all out there, right? Willing to be able to take on whatever's going to happen in that soil, and allowing those microbes to be able to proliferate and do what they do best. So I think that's the easiest way to put it. So that diversity is important. And that's what's exciting about this, the nitrogen use efficiencies, things like that come from having these diverse microbial communities. So since you're focusing on nitrogen, it's a great thing to be able to see. It's like, yeah, you know what, we are focused on this, and we know that we can be more efficient at using nitrogen and fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere. So that's what's going to basically get you closer and closer to these reductions of inputs, is having this healthy living soil that allows, less and less inputs, more resiliency in crops as it goes through times of very hot weather, I would guess, correct? Cooler weather, like these fluctuations we have, 2 inches of rain, no rain, like it's the resilience that's happening in the crops. Is that kind of right?
Oh, that's exactly it. You got to be ready. You got to allow those crops to be ready for any situation that arises, whether it be frost, whether it be 90 degrees or 100 degrees, 3 inches of rain all at one time. And people still need to eat. So you still got to be able to produce that crop and get it out of there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so are you guys seeing, by using these microbes and these inputs, these soil health inputs, are you guys actually seeing increases in yields while lowering then your inputs, meaning nitrogen, phosphorus? Like, so are you guys lowering those, walking that tightrope, saying, yep, we still are getting the production, and just integrating the microbes in now and the soil health practices? Is that kind of what's happening?
That's exactly it. We're leaning back away from the synthetic applications of nutrients and trying to allow what's already out there to be taken up by the plant. Leaning less off of nitrogen, maybe apply phosphorus or potassium as a synthetic and get that better uptake of the nitrogen that's already out there that's being fixed by those microbes.
It took a long time to get there, though. Let's say we're adding in these microbes. Sometimes we do this silently. And then we go tell the best of the team, like, all right, this is what we did. Your plant looks great here. Would you agree? Look at the roots. Everything looks good. Everything checked out. We used our capabilities here, our soil testing, tissue testing, and walked it that way because it was very tough to come in with the concepts like, hey, we're going to put in these microbes, going to reduce your nitrogen 20%.
Yeah.
That conversation would have gone different direction. Slowly backing off 5%, 10%. Then also just using the data that we have to figure out how much nitrogen we need to be applying and at what time has been nice and helpful to get us where we're at.
Man, and the reassurance that everything's going to be okay has been the biggest one. Is here's the data that shows we're okay.
Yeah.
Don't freak out.
No, absolutely. So that's the thing. It's building that resilience in the soil and the crop. And I'm sure, and it's nothing against the older generations or the guys that have been farming for years and years, but they have a recipe and they know that recipe works. And I hate to say this, but their job's tied to it usually, right? I mean, that's the reality. Like if you have a whole bunch of crop failures, you're probably not going to be around a long time. You know, it's just, that's the way things go. So it's hard for those guys to change their recipe or their grandpa's recipe or the farm's recipe because it's been a certain way for so many decades that it does take sometimes sneaking them in there or whatever that looks like. And it's like, well, this looks better. Like, why is my crop doing so good? And then it's like, well, this is why, you know, and then they start to see it and change. And we saw that actually, we just did a podcast not too long ago on a conventional farm that's going over into a regenerative system completely. Same principle. They ended up having to let go of the guy that had been the farm manager for so many decades because he just wouldn't allow that change to happen. And the farm wanted to go a different direction. And so that's what ended up having to happen. So on a farm your size, 10,000 acres, you guys have a little bit of ability to, I guess you could say, do some testing, right? To check it, to see what's working, what's not. So pack out, so yields are staying better or increasing yields. Pack out quality is good or better than it was before. That's perfect. That's what soil health does.
And that's what we were hoping for the whole times.
Hey, well, so far you guys look like geniuses, right? Like that's what it is.
And it's nice having those 10,000 acres because we are going to have at least some areas we're going to have problems with. And that's where we started at. Okay, nothing grows here. What can we do to move the needle a little bit, change things a little bit? And that's what really started opening people's eyes. Like, get some good quality out of this ground that we usually can't get too much out of.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, you guys are going to your marginal ground and really trying to focus on that to increase production. Like that's where the money's made, right? Marginal ground, if you can get that to produce, that's good for farms.
Yeah, anybody can make good ground produce. It's where's the spot where it's like, it's okay, but it's not great, but you can still get a crop out of it. Okay, that's where we want to focus.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What about I know I've talked to you guys about this in the past, microalgae. Have you guys done much research on it? Are you looking into potentially starting to integrate that now? And it's really, microalgae is just a really good carbon source, right? It's a really good carbon food source for the microbes, prebiotic, whatever you want to say, indigenous soil microorganisms. They love it. Of course, the microbes that you guys are going to be integrating into the system, they will love it. And really, you'll be able to increase the microbial populations drastically using microalgae. Are you guys seeing anything? It really, and what it does is at the end of the day is by feeding those microbes so good, it builds the soil tilth, the aggregation of soil. Like it puts together those glues that hold the soil particles together. Are you guys looking into microalgae now as another potential, like you said, you guys are using seaweeds, right? You're using other types of prebiotics, things to feed microbes. Are you guys looking into it potentially?
Yeah, we've utilized one microalgae in particular, and we did a control, and a high rate. And we didn't see a whole lot with the low rate, but the high rate had about 200 boxes more of celery an acre that was out of production. And the control was right on the usual yield that we had. And then we saw that the weight of the celery was a little heavier. The root system was a lot more of a root mat rather than just a root ball going downwards. That was our first venture into it.
Yes. And the biology, as you said, it just exploded there where we did, both with the low treatment and the high as well compared to the control. It looked really good. So that's definitely something we are hoping to continue to evaluate.
Absolutely.
And we also had
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Josue. Go ahead.
curiosities about doing foliar applications with some of these microalgae just to try to get things into the plant more efficiently.
Sure. Absolutely. And that's the exciting part, I think, about it is at the end of the day, even these microbial inputs, right? It's still, if you can use less of them and get better results, like that's kind of the goal at the end of the day, is to become more and more and step closer and closer to regenerative, which is hard to do without cattle and things like that in systems. Like, let's be honest. But the inputs, if you can now say, okay, well, we can integrate this microalgae and add a little bit of microbes to this, you start cutting down then on the amounts of microbes you're having to put in because you're naturally growing those indigenous microorganisms in the soil, right? The ones that are already there that are there, haven't gone anywhere from last year. They just need that food source for them to really explode in population. It's a good thing, I feel like.
And that's really playing with the application rates of some of these products too. It's like you can do a heavy dose at the beginning and then have supplemental doses in between. So you can really back off and just make sure that you have that biology circulating in the system.
I like that. Yeah, because everybody wants to tell you to put 5 gallons of the acre out, right? Or more.
Every week. Every week. That's a week. And that makes it really tough.
Yeah.
Like,
it's good for their bottom line, not necessarily for the farm's bottom line. Like, let's just be honest with it.
That's one of the biggest questions one of our production managers always has is like, how do I know when it's time to go out and reapply? Because they have their every 2 weeks, go and put this out. But could you get away with 3 weeks? Could you get away with a month? Could you get away with 5 weeks? So what is the proper timing and what is the proper application?
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair to say. Now let's get into the fungal symbiosis, right? We've talked about bacteria, the soil food web now. When we look at that, the importance of encouraging mycorrhizal fungal growth, right? That's a whole nother web, you could say, in the soil that helps with, nutrient efficiency, and not only nutrient, but water efficiency. There's all types of things. So with that being said, does it help with the drought tolerance in California and Arizona? Do you guys look at the fungal side of the soil as well?
We are utilizing a mycorrhizae, a couple different formulations of that. And we do have a product that we've been checking that gives you total biomass of microbials that are out there. And then it'll give you the ratio of fungal to bacterial spores. And so that we are definitely interested in that. So I don't know if we'll be able to ever use it on Nebraska crop because they do have heavy defenses to try and keep other microbes away from them. Strawberry, blackberry, blueberry, raspberry, those were definitely utilizing them.
Yeah, and on the caneberry side, I'd say with that product that we have to check the fungal to bacteria ratios, we've kind of started to look into what those ratios look like during that crops cycle, being that it is a perennial. We want some more fungal activity going on there.
Sure.
So,
because it always shouldn't be a 1-to-1 or whatever. I mean, sometimes that ratio should flip, right? And when that ratio flips, like you said, it's perennial. You want it to change a little bit. It's a little bit different. And you might want the fungal to bacterial ratio to be a little bit different. And that's what will help production, right? It's not necessarily just the nutrition. It's like, what is that ratio in the soil? And you said it's a product that's interesting. So through testing, through those things, that's what you guys are being able to really hone in and see now some of these numbers, which again, the benefits of having a lab and the relationships with other labs and really looking at the DNA of the soil, right? Like, I think that's an important aspect of this, even that snapshot. Just recently, we actually started a website called mysoildna.com for that exact reason. Because people need to know what the DNA of the soil is. It's getting to that point, right? Just like humans needed to know the DNA of their human body, it's no different in the soil. And it tells you a lot about your human body. It tells you a lot about the soil as well. So that's interesting.
There's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot going on down there. We understand that. It's like the biology down there is tough to move it, shift it in certain directions. So it is sometimes with these the biological inputs. When you're going in with, even at the high CFU count, it's going to be tough to to move what's already in your rhizosphere.
Sure. Yeah. Because they have that symbiotic relationship, right, with the plant. And they're like, wait, I don't want to change, man. Like, this plant's giving me what I need through exudates. Like, why are you trying to shift me? Like, why are you trying to move me out? What are you doing to me? Right. So I understand that for sure. And it's an interesting concept to really look into. I think we're just scratching the surface of it. We're seeing snapshots, we're seeing those things, but as we dive deeper into it, it's going to be interesting. So go ahead and move on to the next portion of this. And we kind of talked about it, the efficiency gains. So you guys, as we talked earlier, you're feeling more and more comfortable with reducing inputs, right? Nitrogen, some of these other inputs by having these biological systems in place in the soil. With that being, I guess, said, you guys are starting to see or raise your safety margins, right? Like you said, like 5% reduction in nitrogen, now 10%. Now let's go 15%, 20%. So you guys are really starting to hone in, I would say, on the actual amounts of nutrition needing to be put in order to get certain results back. Is that fair to say?
It's always a learning curve and every variety is different. But yeah, I think we're farther along than we were 5 years ago, for sure.
Perfect. That's perfect. That's what you're wanting to see. You got to take small daily steps to get there, right? And you guys will. I mean, obviously 5 years ago, there's a lot of information that's been learned in that amount of time. And that's a wonderful thing. What about water management? So now we looked at the nutritional side of things. I know water is just as important. I mean, now you guys are getting a few inches of rain. Like us out here, our mountains are dry right now out here in Colorado, or at least the ones that are near us in the San Juan Mountains. We have very little snow. It's hot or warm here for us at this time of year. You look at like Lake Powell, you look at some of those things, like there's not much water, but there's a lot of water in there, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot going or flowing into there this year. Water management is really important in any system. Like, are you guys seeing by integrating these microbes and, these fungals and things like that, fungi back into the soil, building soil health, are you seeing help, on that? Are you seeing that your guys is like in between waterings, you might be able to lay off on the waterings a little bit or anything like that?
That's actually the next year's strategy is we're going to start dialing the water use efficiency in. It's always been up to the irrigator to just, when when your soil needs that. And they've been doing it for 10, 20 years. And so they know when their soil needs water. But now we're going to start getting into more of the metrics of what does the pro say? What soil type are you in? What is your volumetric water capacity? How much can that plant pull off? Can you wait another day? So that's really this next year's goal, I guess.
No, that's great. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'd say that the biologicals have certainly helped with some of the resiliency and in drought situations that we've seen. It's been great to see in pots as well. We've seen that it does hold the moisture a little. It's kind of weird. It's like holds the moisture, but not too much moisture. It's just the perfect amount there when you do have biologicals in a pot, the substrates when they're tried it there on cocoa.
Man, that's perfect. Yeah. And that's what they do, right? They're like little managers. Like I said, when I said they're bankers, they know what they need, right? They hold the water, they release the water, they know. So that's great to see. And then not only that, but where you guys are at, even sometimes I talked to you a while back and said, it's 80 degrees here. And I'm thinking 80 degrees December, like what is going on, right? Maybe it's not too crazy, but the reality is as you go through those spikes and as climates change, things start to act a little bit different. At the end of the day, that's the resilience you have to have built in those crops, or they're going to, they'll suffer. Yields go down. There's issues that start to happen.
As you get your water reduction, salinity tends to go up. So you got to be able to deal with that excess sodium or sulfate that's hanging around. And so you may get an extra day or two before you have to leach out all of those salts. So stress management.
Yeah. We're all stressed, right? So all it is I need different microbes, right?
Going out there and hanging out with the plants, giving them the zen.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny when we say that soil talks, like it's no joke, right? The soil talks and the plants will tell you exactly what's going on. And if you just pay attention to it, you can learn a lot just from being in the field, walking the fields.
Beyonce's dad always used to tell me that the plants talk to him. And it's like, well, what are they telling you? How do you
is this a new language?
Yeah, it's like, teach me how to talk to them. And now it's like, okay, I see what you're talking about when they talk to you. So it took a little bit of time developing the dialect, but I think getting closer.
That's good. That'll be the next book, right?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Now let's just go ahead and move on. So the return on investment, right? Because there's always an investment in this. It costs money to put these microbials out to build soil health. So moving, I guess, beyond the yield per acre and like, oh yeah, we've increased some yields here. We're seeing more pack out, right? Say in the berries or, whatever that looks like in the celery, whatever crop we're talking about. What about the profit per acre? The profit per acre now, are you guys starting to see come up due to the fact that you guys are building soil health resilience? The microbials are there. Those things are happening then? Are you guys starting to see some of that on the other side? Not just the yield, which obviously yield equals profit as long as your expenses aren't too high, right? But are you guys starting to see that now?
We do have a lot of contract clientele, so the market fluctuates a little bit, but we have been able to go out and get some of those higher end clients because we do have the consistent volume that are going in. So yield per acre is one thing, but being able to consistently supply some of those bigger consumers, that has been one of the bigger things that we've been able to achieve in the past few years.
Nice. Which is equals profit, right? And that's the good thing. At the end of the day, that's the reality.
Longevity.
Yeah. Of the farm, right? When I said that, let's look at the next 100 years of the farm. Like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people that are more innovative, people that are changing what they're doing to continuously move forward. That's great to hear, and that's what a lot of people at the end of the day, they're scared of when they go to get into these systems and to do these things. They just look at it like, man, it's not going to work this way. It's great to hear that it's working that way for you guys. If you could just talk to me a little bit about how these strategies translate from strictly regulated organic blocks to highly intensity, conventional blocks. And when I say that, you guys are seeing success in both worlds, obviously. Are you seeing success more in organic, conventional, the same? Like, what are we seeing?
I'd say a little bit of both. Utilizing some of the microbials in the conventional where nitrogen has been consistently overapplied, it's been a reassurance that you can back off on that nitrogen and not have that much of a problem. But on the other side, in the organics, it's helped with more of the nutrient cycling. And so being able to unlock some of those things that are in an organic form and mineralize them into an inorganic form that the plant can uptake, that has really helped our organic production. So two different reasons why the microbes have helped, but they've helped both sides of the production curves.
Perfect. That's great. And that's what we see. A lot of people, like I said earlier on in this, everybody believes it's just for organic growers. And actually, the reality of the matter is the guys that are conventional, they have their hands tied tighter and their feet strapped tighter, and that's the thing is really, if the conventional guys would look at it, it's like the organic guys already kind of get it and they understand soil health a little bit. The conventional guys, if you integrate these things in, I feel like those gains are going to be a lot bigger in those conventional systems versus the organic. So it's great to see that you guys are seeing it in both sides still. That is. Now we'll get into, we've been through all this. We've integrated it. It's 5 years now into the process, right? That's where we're at. Or close to 5 years that you guys have been integrating soil health, microbiology, all of these different things into the system. Now let's look at the next 3, 5, and 10 years. So the 3-year, I'll go first with the 3-year refinement, right? Fine tuning the microbial recipe based on real-time soil data, right? Is that kind of what we're looking at over these next 3 years, would you say? Or kind of give me your take on the next 3 years of what you guys are going to try to do.
Say that's exactly what we'd be trying to do, is dial in the when, the where, the how much, and then explain back the why to everybody else.
Yeah. Another thing, we just talked about the return on investment. I think one of the hidden gains that we see here is less sprays, less applications, ideally. So I think this coming year is also something that we want to look into, is just that crop health, the soil health and the crop health, how these biologicals and these inputs are helping us just get a more robust crop.
I think that's... Yeah, no, and I think that's great. Yeah, that's really what you want. You want that healthy crop that's going to be resilient. And then, like, that's always been our goal from a company standpoint, I don't care if we work with a large conventional farm like your guys's or a guy that's a gardener. It doesn't matter either side. The whole goal is to actually move away from inputs. And people laugh about it all the time, right? Like that's the reality. And we're like, yeah, this is kind of the way that our company looks at it, that we want to help, even if it's a 10,000 acre farm, actually start using less and less of what we sell. Because the reality is that's when we start to succeed. And people are like, well, you're going to go broke. Right. Well, actually, no, because the thing is then at the end of the day, we're going to have more and more customers. Right. So it's honesty, integrity, reliability, and really helping farms move away from conventional inputs, fertilizers, the sprays, right? Like different things that are just a direct expense. Like you have to have them or you're going to lose your crop. But if we can build the resiliency at the end of the day, what happens is the money starts to be funneled back into the proper people's pocket, which are the farms. That's my take on it versus our company or any other big distributor of chemicals or whatever that looks like out there. And that's the reality of where this should be, is it goes back into the farm's pocket, which are the ones that are creating that produce or whatever that is, that are outlaying all the money up front to grow that, So that's kind of that's our take on it. So that's really cool. So 3 years, we're looking at refining that recipe, getting that down. Where you guys know when the application should be, how much. Things will change. Now let's look at the 5 year, right? So we're at 3 year that we're going to refine it. 5 year, we're going to expand it. And when I say expand it, it's moving towards a regenerative at scale model, right? Like that's the easiest way I can say it. It will never be fully regenerative unless you guys have cows cruising through there, right? On your strawberry patches and things like that.
Food safety.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's a little bit tough. But so do you believe that in 5 years that biologicals are going to be the standard then, or the primary driver of fertility, like in your guys' valley or in agriculture itself on scale?
You're going to have a more positive viewpoint. So people are just now learning how to use a lot of them. And so there is still a lot of regulation and all that stuff that is going on. And so I think in 5 years, people have a more positive viewpoint. They won't just see it as another expense, but I'd say it's probably going to be like another 10 before people fully adopt it and utilize it properly.
Gotcha. Well, you're killing me over here, buddy. I've been doing this since 2008. You just gave me bad news.
How much further do you think we are ahead in that since 2008?
You'd be amazed. For in 2008, when we started, we were out educating people and everybody thought we were literally just absolutely insane. I'll just be honest with you about what we were talking about, quorum sensing, some of the things that were happening in the soil with the microbial communities and the fungi talking to each other, warning crops whenever there's issues. Like we were talking about all those things back then when we started. And we saw the shift starting to happen 5 years ago, 7 years ago, where people really started to reach out to us and say, hey, we want to do this, but we don't know how. Or can you help us? Can you, consult us on where we should integrate these things into our systems? Whereas back then we were going out to farms saying, hey, we have the stuff that's going to be the future 17 years later, right? What they believed. And can we please integrate this into your systems to show you how to save money? Now the roles are starting to change. So I agree, in the next 10 years, it's going to be the gold standard. Like I really believe, if you ask me, that you're not going to see the fertilizers anymore. If you are, it will be all regulated, right? Like you're going to have to prove you need nitrogen or phosphorus or those things because they're in the soil. So that conventional system is going to change.
I think what might be needed though is some more transparency in the industry. I think that's why it's been great working with you guys and having that, building that connection, building that relationship where we can call and say, hey, we have this issue. Do you think it'll work here? Or what do you think about this? And just being really transparent about what's going on, what the product is doing. There's a lot of players in the game right now that want to put it everywhere, and it works everywhere.
I tell you, just put more on. Just put more on, right?
Right. And we've ran those trials, and we've had places where maybe you look good in the salt in the sandy stuff, but in the clay that didn't perform at all. It's still with that same argument. It would have worked if you would have put more on, or the timing was off, or whatever. But it's I think it's like, all right, didn't work. What else can we do? Rather than continuing to waste our time.
Yeah, no, well, and I appreciate that for sure, Josue, because that's our whole thing, right? Honesty, integrity, reliability. If somebody calls, we want to call back and give them reliable information. We want to have integrity that we're not going to, lead you down a path that's going to cost you money. And then the honesty about it. If it's going to help you, we'll tell you. If it's going to, we believe, hurt, we'll be honest with you. You have to make your own decisions. And we see that a lot. We had that regenerative farm contact us this year and say, hey, what can I put down to help my soil right now? I'm like, well, you have cattle on your guys, all your grassland, all your fields right now. Like, let's not put anything down. I could sell you 4 truckloads of fertilizer for a few hundred acres, right? And of course it would benefit our company. But in my heart, I'm like, let's wait and see next spring when that grass starts actively growing again, what you really need. Let's not do it right now. Like, let's just hold off. So I appreciate that. That's something that we do pride ourselves on. And then working with you guys too, it's something that, I could only imagine having that large of a farm. How many, people approach you and how many people have the next best thing to white sliced bread. And we've seen it since 2008. I'll be honest with you. We've seen the same thing. We've seen a lot of people come, a lot of people go. And the one thing that we were always just held by is that we're going to stick by that honesty, integrity, reliability. We'll be here for the long run and you can call and count on us. And so that I appreciate you recognizing that. And it's something we'll always do. Like I said, it's more of a friendship than a partnership or whatever you want to call it. It's a friendship. And that's the part that's missing, I feel like, a lot in this industry today is it's like, let me just sell you another 1,000 gallons of this. You'll be just fine. Put it on. Right.
And that might be the challenge of why it might take 10 years is because people do have that stigma and they still have people coming to them. And well, you just put it at the wrong time and it was just the wrong rate and it doesn't work on that crop. And so that might be what stalls the industry.
Yeah, no, I have to agree 100%. Not only that, we don't do a lot of boots on the ground, on farm, banging on doors, trying to sell stuff. I did that when we started. And then what I realized is you can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Right. And so until people are ready and they have the mindset and the idealistically, let's say yeah, I will try this. I think I do want to try it. It's hard to just go out and sell and sell and sell and try to help people when really you have to have people come to you and say, hey, look, I'm interested in this. Can you help me? And absolutely, we're open book at that point. It's like, we'll do everything we can because I know this is the future. And if, this is going to be the way agriculture is. And it's just exciting to be part of it. So now that we're past the 5-year, the 10-year legacy, this is the next part. So how does Betteravia Farms plan to lead the industry in the carbon sequestration, climate smart agriculture? Like, where do you guys see the farm in 10 years? Is it total soil resilience? Like, is that kind of what you guys are looking for? Because you guys are young, man. You guys are going to be around. I know 10 years from now and be talking to you, you might be a little gray, but what do you guys think?
It happens.
That's why I wear a hat, buddy.
It happens. I know that's our sales department and our marketing department is very big on pushing a lot of those green alternatives to either packaging, transportation, a lot of the on-farm stuff as well. We're trying to see how many passes we can get away with doing tillage practices. Like he was saying, if you don't have to spray an extra time, that's one less tractor pass through the field. That's less carbon being burned, as well as less compaction on that soil. Putting that heavy tractor in there compacts the soil, which defeats the whole purpose of your regenerative farming. So a lot of those little tiny things add up.
Absolutely. That's great. And that's where you guys are heading. And that's the good part because it's going to put, again, more profit in the farm's pocket. And that's the reality of it. As we start cutting back the tractor passes, we're not buying fuel. We're not buying sprays that also are usually tied to the petrochemical, especially in conventional sides of things. That market, you're starting to get to that regenerative practice. So that's an exciting thing. I think there's going to be climate change. There's things happening, right? And by you guys building this resilience in your farm and looking forward and being leaders of it, I think that if anything, you guys and your farm itself is going to be the ones, and I hate to say this, but potentially buying other people's farms. The guys that weren't willing to change, the guys that didn't want to change, it's only going to be expansion. It's going to be growth, and it's going to be given to the guys that deserve it. And, if anything I can say, working with you guys are very forward thinking. Betteravia Farms is very lucky to have you guys as a team helping them. and vice versa, right? You guys are very lucky to be working at such a farm that's so large, and that you guys are, leading the soil labs and leading this push to this more regenerative side. So I think that's a great thing for you guys and for the farms. Like, I'll say it both ways, because there's a lot of guys that what you two are doing, there's farms that just wish they had people that could think like that or that were forward thinking. So I think that's great. And it's always fun. We'll kind of wrap this thing up now, but it's fun to always talk to people that have greenhouses and that are doing regenerative practices on, 50 acres or introducing microbials into these types of things. But what's really cool is that we get to talk to you guys today with Betteravia Farms, BoniPak Produce Incorporated. You guys are 10,000 acres in the Santa Maria Valley, another 5,000 acres in Yuma. You guys are proving that you can be large, very large, and still integrate these things into your farm and succeed. And that to me is a really cool thing, being able to show that you guys can do this and that it can be done on scale is something that you guys are definitely going to be remembered for a long time, kind of pioneers of it. So I just definitely, I appreciate, you guys being on with us today. I appreciate where this conversation led, that we were able to get some of this information out and help people, and hopefully other large producers open their eyes and say, man, I can do this. I just, like I said, if you say you can't do it, you just have to kind of think outside the box, because it's the future and it's on us. And so I just wanted to thank both you, Dr. Hite, Josue, both of you guys for being on with us today on the Soil Talks podcast. We're excited now to be able to, talk to you guys again in the future as well, and see okay, now, it's another year down the road. Where are we at? Or maybe sooner than that. So thank you guys for being on today. Definitely appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Brandon.
Much appreciated. It's been a great talk.
We look forward to continuing to working together.
Absolutely. We do too. And you know what? As we move forward and we learn more and we teach more and we share more with you guys, and you guys have questions for us, we're just always here. Just never forget that. We can always help you guys out. So happy to do that as well. And as we move forward, just if you would like the channel, subscribe to the podcast. We're going to be having more people on, more farms on, more industry leaders on that's talking about soil health, microbials, all the things that really matter today to farms and really to humanity at the end of the day. So please follow us, take a look at it. Again, we definitely appreciate it. If you do have questions, you can always find us, RockyMountainBioAg.com. These guys, they're at Betteravia Farms, BoniPak. They're busy. They're in the lab, so I doubt you're going to get in touch with them. But definitely thank you guys again. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and have a Merry Christmas. Take care.